So next we'll be talking about the various retinal manifestations and the other extraocular manifestations of blunt injuries. So what are the manifestations that we see in the vitreous and the retina? The vitreous, what we classically see is a traumatic vitreous detachment. So vitreous detachment is, this is what you see. You see a classical Weiss ring, okay, a ring shaped uh, opacity is what you see in the anterior part of the vitreous. So this is classical of a vitreous detachment. What we are seeing here is the vitreous hemorrhage. So you can see accumulation of blood in the vitreous cavity. And in case of vitreous hemorrhage, you will not be able to see the underlying retinal vessels. So that is how you can distinguish it from a choroidal hemorrhage, which we'll be talking about later. So you can see a vitreous detachment and a vitreous hemorrhage. What are the manifestations that we can see in the choroid? Choroid, we can have a choroidal rupture. So these choroidal ruptures are usually concentric to the optic disc and is usually temporal to it. They are single in few cases, but in most of the cases they are multiple. The fundus examination shows a whitish crescent, which we see because of the underlying sclera with some amount of fine pigmentation at the base. But what we see here is you will see some amount of blood vessels run over it. So this tells you that it is beneath the retina. So that is classical of a choroidal rupture. So you are seeing the blood vessels run over it. Whereas if there is a vitreous hemorrhage, you will not see blood vessels because it is the vessels are beneath the accumulation of blood or the vitreous hemorrhage. That is how we distinguish it. You can also see choroidal hemorrhage. So you can see here, yeah, the blood vessels are seen running on top of it. So that is again classical of a choroidal hemorrhage, which we don't see in a vitreous hemorrhage, where the blood vessels are below the bleed. Lastly, you can also see choroidal detachment. Again, you can see the vessels running on top of the detachment. So these are the common manifestations of choroid. You can have a choroidal rupture, a choroidal hemorrhage, or a choroidal detachment. So what do we see on the retina? The most classical manifestation that we see is the commercial retinae or the Berlin's edema. So Berlin's edema is a milky white cloudiness of the posterior pole with a red spot which we see at the foveal region. So this red spot is called as a cherry red spot, so which is classically seen in ocular injury. It is also seen in other conditions, but it is an important manifestation of a blunt ocular injury. Apart from that, we can also see a retinal detachment. You can see a detached retina here superiorly. What are the manifestations we see on the macula? Macula is an area which is around a couple of disc diameters temporal to the optic disc. So this is the central area of the macula is called as a fovea, and macula has got a diameter of around 5.5 millimeters. So this entire space is called as a macula. So whenever there is any trauma, there can be some fluid accumulation inside the macular region, which is called as a macular edema. In further advanced cases, you can, if the trauma is very severe, you can also see a macular hole, which you see here. It is like a classically punched out lesion, which is seen at the foveal region, and there will be significant amount of pigmentation at the base and also some amount of subretinal fluid accumulation, which we see there. So these are manifestations which we see on the macula. You can see a macular edema or a macular hole. What do we see in the optic nerve? Optic nerve, they can be optic nerve avulsion because of the severity of the trauma. You can also see optic nerve sheath hemorrhage, as you see here in this picture. And in advanced cases, if there is any optic nerve injury and if you don't intervene, it goes into the end stage disease, which is optic neuritis and optic atrophy. And this picture, what we see is optic atrophy, where the classical pink optic disc is replaced by a pale white optic disc. And once patient develops optic atrophy, it's next to impossible to get the vision back. So this is the last stage of any optic nerve injury. After After any ocular injury, there can be an increase in intraocular pressure or there can also be a decrease. Increase in intraocular pressure is what we call as traumatic glaucoma. Now this can either happen because of angle recession, which I've already spoken about earlier, or it can also happen because of the exudates going and blocking the angle of anterior chamber where there is difficulty in passage of aqueous. So these conditions can lead to an increase in intraocular pressure. Traumatic hypotony can happen because if there is an open globe injury, for obvious reasons, the eyeball is going to be soft and the intraocular pressure is going to come down. Sometimes after ocular injury, there can be a ciliary body shock also, which can lead to a decrease in intraocular pressure, because ciliary body is a place where the aqueous humor is produced. So if there is injury to the ciliary body, the IOP is going to go down. So there can be an increase or a decrease in intraocular pressure post ocular injuries. So next we need to talk about globe rupture. So we have just spoken about the closed globe manifestation. Now we'll talk about globe rupture. So what is globe rupture? In the initial classification I've told you, it's a full thickness wound in the eye which is caused by a blunt object. So it can be a direct form of globe rupture where the changes happen at the site of impact, or it can be an indirect globe rupture because of compression forces. So the force can come from inside and cause a globe rupture. So a globe rupture can usually be associated with iris prolapse, which we see here. The iris tissue is coming out through the wound. There can be vitreous loss. There can be intraocular hemorrhage and a dislocated lens. So it is a very difficult condition to manage. A globe rupture is an ocular emergency, and it is very important to see to it that we repair the primary tear as soon as possible. And we have to do this under guarded visual prognosis, because if once there is a trauma like this, the normal anatomy of the eye cannot be restored back. So we have to tell the patient that the possibility of good visual outcome is very less, and only after that we will do the surgery. But the main aim is to restore the integrity of the eyeball so that it doesn't develop into a Thuys-Sickle eye, which is something which where the patient completely loses his vision. The extraocular lesions can be seen either on the eyelid, the lacrimal apparatus, or the orbit. So what do we see on the eyelid are ecchymosis. It is basically accumulation of blood inside the eyelids. There can also be traumatic ptosis. The type of ptosis that we see here is a mechanical ptosis. Because of the significant amount of lid edema, the eyelid is going downwards. So we see mechanical traumatic ptosis. The lacrimal apparatus, there can be dislocation of the lacrimal gland, laceration of the lacrimal passages. Orbit, there can be blowout fracture. It's most commonly along the floor of the orbit. There can be orbital hemorrhage, and there can also be orbital emphysema.